Alright, folks, welcome to Puppy's World, and thank you for watching, thank you for tuning in, as this is video installment number 2 of how to set up a surround sound receiver from start to finish. Okay, guys, video number 2 is concluding by, well, more or less, cleaning some things up and adding some more features and functions, if not speakers, amplifiers, to a surround sound setup, either existing or during the making. Okay, as I stated, this is video number 2 of our installment of setting up a surround sound receiver from beginning to finish, start to finish, and, well, let's get started here. I've got a basic setup here in my basement. Not the theater room that I haven't shown yet, but just a basic setup using a Sony projection, rear projection TV, and the Pioneer SC97 Elite surround sound receiver model. It is a Class D3 digital amplifier, and it will do about 145 watts by 9 at 8 ohms. It's got the MCACC Pro calibration microphone setup for calibrating your soundstage and setting your speakers, distances, delay time, whatnot, volume. It's got Dolby Atmos, and of course it will do a DTSX with a firmware upgrade. It's got a Sabre 32 digital to analog converter inside of it with 11.2 channel pre-out processing. So you can put a preamp to it and an amplifier to it, phone out preamp, whatever have you, power amp. It does do HDCP 2.2 with 4K Ultra HD 60p. Not 120p, but it does have direct digital streaming, direct stream digital, off the 2 frequencies of Wi-Fi. And of course it will do Bluetooth. However, there's one main difference with this receiver that I have to compare as to the Marantz receivers. I have a Marantz SR7010 upstairs and a Marantz NR1606, also waiting on the Marantz SR7011 to arrive. But there's one main difference that I've noticed with this SC97 and my SC99 in a different room that compare simply to the Marantz receivers. It does not, unfortunately, do 1080p up conversion or upscaling via an HDMI output to a regular television like this. If I had my Marantz SR7010 or even the NR1606 in place of this right now, we would be seeing a complete 1080p feed off of our cable or whatnot, or any video feed or signal we're putting through it, leaving this with an HDMI cable, 2.0 most likely. Okay, guys, let's get started here simply as you've set up your surround sound receiver. You've chosen it. You've chosen your speakers. You've placed it all in your room. You've done a 5.1, a 5.2, a 7.1, 7.2, even a 5.1.4 setup or a 5.2.4 setup, whatever. You've got some in-ceiling speakers. You've got height channels, whatever. But you've set some stuff up, and you're just not satisfied yet. You're just not happy with the setup, the current state of your setup. You've got some surround going, but it just doesn't seem to be over the top for you. It just doesn't seem to do it for you. There's something lacking, and you just don't know what that is. So I'm going to tell you guys what that could be for you is either speakers or amplification. Now, in this video, I'm going to show you what I have added to my surround sound receiver setup here. And what that is a power amplifier, an external power amplifier, to add not only quality, yes, a little bit of volume, but also channels. I am adding an external power amplifier to basically experience 2 more speakers. That is determined by which power amplifier you add, of course. However, I have chosen to add a Emotiva basx A300 power amplifier here. Same one I've chosen to use in my living room, the exact same one I've chosen to use in my office as well. We're going to go ahead and see it power up here as soon as my surge protector power conditioner will allow those caps to start up. And reason I have chosen this Emotiva power amplifier is simply the fact that, well, it's extremely efficient and powerful, being a 2-channel power amplifier. It's 150 watts by 2 channels, guys, at root mean squared. Also, it's got an extremely oversized toroidal transformer inside of it with an external removable power supply. So it's extremely efficient, and powering something like these large tower speakers is what I have chosen to do in a full spectrum not biamped mode. So bi-wired, but not biamped mode. I've chosen to use the more quality speakers at a lower volume with the Pioneer receiver. However, I have reversed the two, put the NHTs to the back of my emotiva, and then vice versa, the pokes to the back of my emotiva as well. Right now, we are running the pokes with the emotiva, as if you have determined your surround sound setup or receiver just isn't powerful enough, and you are in a house or a theater setup, and you're just thinking, what can I do to add some more channels or power to it? You can either add an external preamplifier, like the Parasound Z Pre 2 Zone preamplifier, but that's going to be just some volume control, a little bit of clarity, more or less a little bit of volume, but an extra knob to turn up. In this situation, or this case, we have no buttons or knobs other than a power button right here. And I'm going to go ahead and show you what this did for my setup and what the point of adding a power amplifier to a surround sound setup would be. I'd love to be able to play you a Blu-ray here and hear some of the receiver's capabilities, not only through the TV, but also out of the speakers with each amplifier here. So we can do that. We can add a Blu-ray. You know, which one we're going to do, that's yet to be determined. I can either do Focus. I've got a few down here, you know, the Accountant we can do. There's several different videos, but let's start by just powering us up real quick. And I'll give you a look at the remote too. We're starting off at a very, very high volume. We don't want that. So we're going to go ahead and set at this point. I don't know if the Pioneer receivers are able to set a start volume as the Marantz are, but, well, oh well. I'd have to say, guys, the difference between the two receivers, the Pioneer and Marantz receivers, are simply, the Pioneer is a lot more astute and clear in terms of music playback. It's got a horrible graphical user interface or on-screen display compared to the Marantz, though. It's a very small little screen in the right-hand corner of the television. I think you've seen it in my previous video. As also opposed to that, you have very limited up conversion or upscaling properties out of this receiver as opposed to the Marantz again. At similar price points, I would choose the Marantz if I were doing anything that was requiring video processing or upscaling or up conversion. With a 4K television, of course, it really wouldn't make a difference. However, when you are watching videos and television, especially out of a cable feed like this via an HDMI cable, it is nice. I do have to claim, it is nice to be able to watch everything in 1080p, if not 4K. When you have a 4K display, believe it or not, all the Marantz receivers will upconvert, upsample you to 4K while just watching a regular cable feed. So that's what's important there. As you can see, we're in a stream direct mode right now. This receiver has simply nowhere near the amount of sound options that the Marantzes have. Just a few sound options. I'll kind of go through them really quickly right here. Direct, pure direct. We've got optimum surround. We've got auto surround, ALC, and then direct again. But let's go ahead and turn some stuff on real quick. Let's go ahead and get some stuff powered on so you can get an idea of why I have added this power amp and what it did for me. We can already hear a little bit of audio. As you saw, the receiver did go from, it will do this again, it'll go from stereo into surround mode as it is experiencing a feed from the cable box. My wireless light is indicating that it is trying to connect to my Wi-Fi signal. So I'd have to say that this receiver, unfortunately, does not connect nearly as fast as either of the Marantz receivers. One thing about it is it does have a, and we can see here that we are in here. I will hit display really quickly. Unfortunately, as opposed to the Marantz, we are in 1080i. As you can see there, this TV will do a 1080p signal at its best. However, unfortunately, the Pioneer receivers don't upconvert. Okay, we're in surround mode here. I'm going to give you a look at the remote real quick that was provided with this receiver. Very, very, very basic remote. No backlit display. The buttons do glow in the dark, but you've got to have, some light displayed into them first for them to glow like that. So very basic remote. Nothing similar to my SC05 remote that actually has a flip down little spot right here to operate DVD player, Blu-ray, and all that. It will do everything that is Pioneer, though, which is nice about it. I can even go upstairs with this remote and operate my Pioneer Elite A20 integrated amplifier with this guy. I can operate the Blue Disc player. I can operate any Blu-ray player from Pioneer, any receiver from Pioneer, any stereo from Pioneer, and believe it or not, any television, almost any product from Pioneer made within the last 10 years. This remote will operate without calibrating or setting up or putting any numbers in, what have you. It does have the full lineup numbers there. You can dim the display, of course, as you can all of them. So, you know, there's some things. There's receiver setup button on here. There's class you can enter, display. You know, so there's a few different options here. It's a very nice receiver in terms of quality for music playback. For movies and video, probably not the best. I wouldn't recommend it as a top choice. Okay, guys, I'm going to make sure we're in HBO here, as we are. So we're getting a true Dolby Digital feed and all that, as, you know, you're going to most likely get that from any cable channel, though. But we're ensuring that we're in Dolby Digital here. And to do that, we just go on the top display there and make sure what our input signal coming in is. A little bit different than the Marantz receivers. You can't just hit info and find out what your input signal is, what your output signal's going, and how many speakers you have operating right now. So it's a little bit different than that, guys, you know, in that aspect or sense. However, let's get started here with listening to it and figure out why we added a power amplifier here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn you on up to 20. And we are going to find that it is not very loud. I can barely hear this. Yes. As it is particularly doing the sound to these two NHTs right now, and then my surround speakers right here. I've got two Sony speakers that are surround speakers right now. Go ahead and be changing those out at some point. However, it is a very, very odd, screwy sounding receiver. So that's how I have it set up right now. I've got front channels, of course, as the NHTs. However, it's a very, very, very weird setup when you've got a power amplifier set up for this. So I've had to play around with this guy a little bit, and I'd like to show you the back of him where I've connected the emotiva into, because, simply put, while using the graphical user interface or on-screen display of this receiver, it does, yeah, it's very small, you can barely see it, and it does suggest and tell you that for adding a power amplifier. So what I did is I went into the home menu here. Okay, going into the home menu here, and after you set up your network, Bluetooth, all that, you've calibrated it, went into system setup right here. And as you can see as well, from powering on my power conditioner and powering it off at night, it technically acts to the receiver as if you're unplugging it. Now, the difference between the Pioneer and the Marantz is, the Pioneer is so annoying in a sense of, every time you turn that power conditioner off or technically unplug the receiver, it loses your damn Wi-Fi signal. It doesn't lose your proxy settings or, you know, proxy server numbers and all that, your 192.68.11, you know, SSID. So that is annoying, though. Every time you unplug it, it doesn't lose the proxy server settings. It just has to be recalibrated, I guess. You got to go in and set the damn network up so that your wireless function is working. But okay, guys, I did a manual speaker setup in here, and it did tell me that I should be using the, we'll go through some of the options here. So right now I have it set up like that, simply. Because I was going to add a set of surround speakers. However, I'll go through the different options we're able to do here. We are able to do a 9.2.2. Oh, that's front width is pre-out only. So you can see there, it'll show you the little, little setup there that, that they're suggesting you do. A 7.2.4 with a surround back pre-out. Surround backs are pre-out only, of course. We got a 7.2.4 front pre-out only. That I'm very partial to. I like that one, as I've been able to set that up quite easily down here. However, you see, set to enjoy an airness that envelopes you from above. To use front speaker, connect the extra 2 pre-out jack to an external amplifier. Well, that's what I did at first, guys. And it was quite odd. It was only giving me some of the sound from the front 2 channels only through one set of the speakers. So what I'm trying to say is, with that suggested setup, with the emotiva power amplifier into the extra two pre-out ports of the Pioneer, it was not utilizing any of my fronts that were connected to the Pioneer, of course. It was just utilizing the front channels that are connected to the emotiva power amplifier. So I didn't like that. What I wanted was both. I wanted the ability to turn speakers off on my Pioneer and just have a signal going from the Pioneer to the emotiva. So just have a basic stereo setup, being able to play music and watch TV at the same time, and hear the audio coming from the television, which is possible. But this setting was not, I didn't find this to be correct in any way. So what I had to do, guys, was instead of doing that, yes, that's a very, very good setup as well. You're able to front bi-amp. So I've got Polk speakers that are bi-ampable, bi-wireable. That was the first setting we went with. Very powerful. So very nice setup. Here's a 7.2.2 or 7.2 plus surround or plus speakers B. That was a setup I had done second and using extra one jack. So, that's set up for 2-channel stereo playback in a zone other than the main zone. So that's what speakers B are going to be. However, you can add speakers B to my NHTs or Polks or any other speakers in the front or back if you want. One suggestion or tip or trick that I like to do, guys, sometimes is I like to add more surround channels sometimes in a less traditional setup. So more or less in my living room, I have added some wides and extra surround speakers, but more or less in a projection type setup. So in my projection type setup, I'm sitting more or less like sideways to the television. So I've got two speakers, bam, bam, next to the projector that are operating as fronts. However, in my mind, they're surround speakers because they're acting as surround speakers when you're sitting in that position. However, they're set up as front speakers, so it was possible to do a speaker B setting when you're watching the projector, operate between speakers A, speakers B, speakers A and B, or speakers off, and then using an external power amplifier. So I'll kind of quickly run through here. That is your high definition zone, your 5.2 bi-amp plus HD zone, but that's front bi-amped, of course. So you're going to be using your surround back speakers in there, or your extra 1 or 2s, heights or wides in this setting. Okay, you got a 5.2 plus surround back bi-amped though. Surround backed bi-amp, so if I were to use these speakers and place them, say, behind me, I would bi-amp them as speakers B, and then use my traditional fronts as speakers A, not bi-amped or bi-wired. Okay, we got a 5.2 front plus surround bi-amp. This is a cool setting, guys. The Marantz receivers cannot do this. So this is one of the most interesting aspects of this receiver as to why I say it's probably used in its best capability form in audio. Listening to music is probably the best way to operate this receiver, and that's one of my favorite settings a surround sound receiver will ever have. It's a 5.2 surround setup with front plus surround bi-amp. So your front speakers are bi-amped and your surround speakers are bi-amped. That's a very, very rare setup to have, guys. Rare feature in a receiver like this. We've got a 5.2 channel surround front plus center bi-amped. That is unique as well, guys. So if you've got a center channel speaker that you're bi-amping, or you want to separate the high and the low and the mid frequencies like that, you're able to do so, bi-amp it and the fronts. That's amazing too. That's very rare. Marantz cannot do that. Okay. Also, center and surround bi-amp. That's just kind of switching between the last setup. Amazing though. That's very, very, very rare of a setup, guys. Next setup, we have multi-zone music. That's more or less connecting the extra one jack, So that'll do 3 zones. Don't recommend doing that though. And then 5.2 plus zone 2 plus HD zone. That's an interesting setup too, but we're going to pass on that one. Okay. Guys, the next setup, we've got 5.2 plus zone 2 plus zone 3, of course. Okay, but we're going to go back to our 7.2 channel or 5.2 channel. 7.2.2, 5.2.2, or 7.2 channel. What we're going to actually do really quickly is go, yes. So I kind of cycled through all of them for you. As we're going to go back to the original one that I was at really quickly here. Okay, I was originally at this one, guys. So I am using a regular 5.1 setup. Well, not a 0.1 setup. I have no subwoofer here. By the way, guys, the point numbers are sub speakers. So if you've got a subwoofer, it's 5.1 or 7.1. If you've got two subs, it's 0.2. I haven't really heard of more than that, but you can daisy chain subwoofers up to make a 5.3 or a 5.4, but that would be, that would be difficult to do in terms of phasing, too. You have to have one in 0 degree phase, one in 180 degree phase. You'd have to have one in a 90 degree phase, and one in a frickin' who knows. I've never heard of that happening, though. Okay, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and select this. I'm gonna actually just return. So I'm not gonna select any of those settings. I'm just gonna go back and say that we just looked at those. I didn't select any of those. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna get out of my home menu really quick. I'm gonna go back into the satellite cable feed. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn you up a little bit. And then I'm going to tell you why I've added this power amplifier. So as you can see, it is not very loud at all. It's quite difficult to hear the audio. And it's at a higher volume. Yeah, confusing, I know. We'll go here. We'll see the status of this. You can kind of go up and see what the status is. Phase control you got. Memory. Frequency sine wave, we're at 48 kilohertz. That's very common. Dolby Digital, Wi-Fi. It's questioning it. My proxy settings, proxy server. Okay, we're gonna hit the status button again though. We're gonna jump through the different. We're gonna go with optimal surround as it does the sound retriever, and it'll do the sound corrections for us. So we're in optimal surround right now. We're gonna go into auto surround really quickly. It's gonna put us back in Dolby Digital. What we're gonna do though is I'm going to switch on my emotiva amplifier and show you why I've added this guy. Dunk. Okay, it just turned on the front Polk speakers as I've got this set up in the pre-out ports, not the recommended extra 2 jacks as the on-screen display had recommended. Not those extra 2 jacks at all. Why? It was very, very confusing with that, so I didn't understand why they wanted me to use the extra 2 ports out of this receiver. However, I decided to go that way. Try to get a movie going here, just so we can see and hear what a true digital source being played off a Blu-ray sounds and looks like on this receiver. Okay, guys, so I've placed a Blu-ray in. We're going to go with focus, as we're in the blue disc input setting on the Pioneer amplifier. That is actually the background setting of the screensaver, if you will, on the Pioneer blue disc player right there, the BD05, or BDP05, I believe. Yes, it's a BDP05FD. So we've got the emotiva turned on. We're in stereo mode right now. I'm going to go ahead and switch the emotiva off real quick, guys, as you're going to get an idea of what this is displaying in audio and how it'll sound just with the traditional speaker setup that's coming out of the Pioneer, and then go ahead and add the emotiva for you. Alright, guys, we've got the blue disc in there, we've got focus in there. We're just operating on a stereo feed at this point right now. And what we're doing is, we're in the previews right now. So I think it's a preview for San Andreas. But as I said before, one of the nicest things about the Pioneer receivers is simply this. You do not have to do anything to the remotes to operate all Pioneer equipment. So it's just as simple as, I don't even have to hit what source control I want. So say I'm doing blue disc, say I'm doing mobile high definition link, tuner TV, blah, blah, blah. I just hit the control buttons here. So play. As you can see, that's playing. I'll go ahead and turn you up a little bit. I'm going to turn the emotiva amp off. See? So we can get an idea of what it's playing, or how it's displaying audio. And it is quite quiet at this setting, believe it or not. Yes, we're in stereo mode still. But I do have to crank this guy up quite a bit. I'm going to put him at a full 0. As you can see there. It's just not very powerful, guys. Okay, guys, now I'm going to go ahead and power the emotiva amp on. Now we're going to put it in surround mode for a second after I turn this amplifier on. So, bam, Emotiva's on, give it about 3 seconds.
Feel it on the East Coast.
And there we go. There we go. Much different, guys. So if you are experiencing a underpowered surround sound receiver or stereo, well, you can do one thing and one main thing. You can add speakers, but that won't really do it for you. You're going to have to add a power amplifier. That is what is necessary. I will go into the film here to get into a true Dolby Digital, or I believe this has, I'm going to guess DTS HD Master Audio. It's not true HD. Yes, it is. It's HD Master Audio. So, we're going to go ahead and get into the film here real quick, just so we can make sure we're in DTS HD. Okay guys, we're at a negative 20 now, and we're way louder than we were before. So,
parties must come to an end.
I am going to get into the film here. What's nice about this Blu-ray player is specifically when you have it set up or hooked up to an older television like this, you are able to go right to the front of it, or by remote, mind you. And these buttons are all touchscreen type of buttons. It's got your HD light on there, your front light off indicator on there, and your HDMI indication. But what's cool about this DVD player, guys, is it'll tell you if it's in 60 hertz. It'll tell you what control you're operating in. So guys, we're just going to make sure we're in the resolution that this TV can support. If we put it in 1080p, I don't even know if it'll work. So let's see what resolution we're in. We're in auto, which is nice. So that'll calibrate it to the best setting that the TV can do. But we'll hit this resolution button and make sure. 480i. As you can see there, it just switched the TV into 480i. So it'll actually tell you what... Yep, and it doesn't look much different, guys. So, I mean, that's the receiver not doing some of the calibration and up conversion. Go ahead and go through Cyclopedia at 480p, 1080i, as we're going to be able to do a maximum 1080i, I believe. Yes, it did tell you 1080i. You can cycle through them with the remote like that. But we're going to go back to auto really quick, because I don't believe this TV will do 1080p. I'm going to go in SRC Direct really quick. And no. We're going to hit no really quick. So we're going to go back into auto if we can. Auto, guys. Auto, you saw. Okay, we're going to get the best kind of video signal we can that way. And then I'm going to go ahead and once again turn the Emotiva power amp off. And you can notice here, just the NHT is working, but it's way less power. Now that'll be determined by which amplifier you add to it, of course. If you add a really crappy, 40 watt RMS amplifier to it, it's going to be very little power. It'll be very little volume and quality added to it. However, if you add a 7-channel 40 watt RMS amplifier to a receiver like this, well, you're going to be able to get 7 more speakers. I guess it's depending on what matters to you most, guys. Does it matter how many speakers you have, or what it sounds like and how loud and how clear it is? I prefer how loud and clear it is when you're watching a movie or listening to music. I don't really care about how many speakers, because you can have 50 speakers, but if they're too quiet to hear and it's not clear or quality sound, what the hell's the difference? What's the point? Doesn't matter then. So while I'm getting into the film here, I'm just going to show you real quick. I'm going to turn on the Emotiva power amp once more. But we're going to go into a surround sound. We've been in stereo for the whole time being. So we're going to operate that, or utilize that center channel. Not both of them just yet, but the NHT center channel. And then the 2 surround speakers. So I'll go ahead and turn you on up. We're still in stereo here. As I apologize for the horrible graphical user interface around screen display right there. It's even difficult to see. But I'll go ahead and put you in surround. And done by this right here. So we'll go auto a bunch of times. Auto surround. ALC. We got direct. Pure direct. Optimum surround, as I showed you before. Then we'll go into Extended stereo is very nice, guys. So that is all speakers being used. And no emotiva amp on right now, so that's working there. And working there. Okay. Dolby Surround. Neo X Cinema will do. Neo X Music. Neo X Game. Then back into regular stereo. And of course extended stereo. You can go into different advanced modes that Pioneer is renowned or known for having. So that is amazing. That's great. Front, yep, the front stereo surround. Eco mode, Econo mode. Sounds pretty good. Eco mode 2. And then back to action. And you can select your channel level, of course. I'm going to prefer to listen to it in extended stereo at this point, guys. That's kind of the loudest, most clearest setting you're going to get for this video. And then we are going to chapter forward to a decent scene here. What we're going to do is I'm going to pop on that power amplifier for you at the last moment here, just so you can hear what that did, what it does. Alright guys, we're in a decent scene in the movie where we got some volume. What we're going to do is I'm just going to hit that emotiva power amp for you once more time to figure out, once we're in a Dolby Surround, a traditional surround setting or format, and hit that emotiva power amp real quickly again, and you're going to hear what that does, that adding a power amplifier to your surround sound receiver or stereo setup, what it will do for you. Okay, once more time guys, I'm going to hit the emotiva, and even about 3 seconds before it'll start up, you will hear that audio. And there we go. It is a lot more clearer, is a lot more lifelike, is a lot more powerful of a sound, and simply louder, yes. I can put it back into stereo mode real quick. And then bam, sound stereo.
Ten says he's too drunk to get up for the wave.
Alright guys, that concludes this video.
Okay.
I've got one more video that I've got to do with this receiver down here. I won't tell you what it's about just yet, but it's about a unique aspect of setting up surround sound receivers from start to finish, of course. But it of course involves adding some other features and, you know, what to do, troubleshooting, whatnot, and other things like that. So, please subscribe, check back for more, as I will have a few more videos being performed involving setting up your surround sound receiver and or stereo. Thank you guys. Don't forget to like the video if you like or comment, and please subscribe. Thank you for watching.